Okay, so we're going to get started on making our purple owl. This is basically what your owl will look like when we're finished. I have to redo this tutorial because my audio messed up on the last one, so I hope this one works out much better. Just a little adjustment there. Okay, so we're going to start making the body. So this is what your body shape is going to be like when you're finished, and then we will move on to making the head. Start with your off-white natural color rovings. It has a bit of veggie matter that you'll see in it, but don't worry about this. It's just, this wool has been very well cleaned. It's just little bits of grass and stuff remained inside the wool. It's going to be in the core of your owl, so you won't ever see it, and it's actually really great for needle felting because it's a great purpose for some wools that are no good for spinning or other things you would use wool for. So it's also much more economical for you if you can find some of this type of wool for your core. Basically, we're just using the white for the core because there's no point in using all our beautiful colors for the inside when you can't even see them. So basically, I'm just going to start off by tying a knot in the center. And we're just going to keep doing this again. This is just a little shortcut. It'll quicken your process. We're just starting off making a nice hard core. We're just tying a few knots over the top of themselves. It doesn't have to look pretty because you're not going to see it. So now that we have a group of knots, I'm going to cover the knots in some of the roving. And I'm going to take my 38 needle, which is the one without tape, and this is the needle you'll be mostly using. This is a coarser needle and it does a lot more of the work. The other needle is more for fine-tuning things. Be very careful that you don't bend this little part right here where it tapers, because that is where the needle can very easily break. So just always going into your object in a straight line, whether you're going sideways or from the top or front to back. You want to be careful that you're just not bending this little piece. Now, be very careful, because if you poke yourself, it really does hurt, and most people do poke themselves, so watch out for that. Also, when you're tying a knot in the center here, you're making a very hard core, so be very cautious when you're poking, because that's when you could really break the needle. So just going carefully. If I'm going really fast, it's because I'm very used to doing this, so don't feel like you have to go my speed. The most important thing is just to go in fully when you're making the core of the structure, because when you drive that needle in, each little barb along the needle will catch the fibers. If you just do the tip, you're not felting into the core and making a firm, solid object. So just keep wrapping your wool around the core. Don't worry too much about the shape of it at this point. Right now we're just trying to get solid base to go on, but overall you're trying to make kind of an egg shape. So we're just wrapping it around, kind of like a log. And now I'm wrapping quite a bit around it, so we're getting it thicker and thicker. And then a nice thing you can do is, as you're poking, roll it and push it against your foam. Kind of helps to maintain that roundish shape. And it just makes sure that you get the needle in all the places that you need to. It doesn't have to be rock hard, but you want a nice solid firm core. There's many different styles of needle felting, and you'll find your own style, whether it be the really firm type or soft, but you'll figure it out. And it comes with experience, and there's no one way to do needle felting. It's definitely not a science. Okay, so we've kind of got this roundish egg shape. You'll see that I made it first like a log, and then I went along the edges and kind of tucked all that wool in and felted the ends. So we have this little sort of egg-shaped thing that we made, and we're just gonna add a little bit more. Actually, we'll go the opposite direction. Start from the end to end and wrap it. Just to kind of round out those ends. At any point, if you want to do something a little different, by all means go for it. Make your own little rendition of this owl. It's totally up to you how you do it. And so now we have our white little core. So now we're going to take some of our purple roving, the one that's kind of got little bits of different colors in it. It's really pretty, I think. And we're going to just cover. The nice thing about this wool that I've chosen is that I like its finished texture, and it doesn't require a lot of smooth finishing. I like the way it looks when it's just kind of rough. I think that's perfect for a beginner needle felter to get the hang of things. So we're just going to wrap it like we were with the other rovings, from end to end, and then just take your needle and attach this wool. Now this is going to be the outside of the owl, so this is the part you will see. So it's sticking out right now, and I'm going to go along and do that on the sides. And you're using your 38 gauge needle for this, which is your needle with the tape. Sorry, without the tape on it. I've made this purple owl to be a limited kit because I cannot get any more of this purple for the outside. So you guys who are making this are the only ones who shall be getting this kit. Okay, so I'm just still working on making this an egg shape. We're going to fine tune the shape once we get this purple attached. Now I hold a lot of my work up high. It's just, I find it easier. But you can use your mat. Probably a good idea to do. Probably less likely to poke your fingers. Keep your fingers well out of the way. And like I said, don't worry about going really fast. I just do this on a daily basis, so I'm pretty fast at it. I don't feel like you have to follow my speed. Pause the video if you need to. There we go. So as you can see, it's all like kind of lumpy and not very smooth, but we're going to fix all that. Although I can't really see it that well on this camera, but I actually think it looks kind of neat. Kind of gives a feathered look. So maybe we might leave it all feathered look like that. So now we got to decide, okay, this is the top where our head is going to go, and this is where our feet are going to go because it's a little narrower at the top. So we want to just change the shape a little bit. So we're just going to flatten the bottom, and now this is where I use my fingers to manipulate my shape a bit. So I'm going to squish it with my hand on the bottom, and take my needle, very carefully not poking myself, because my fingers are right there, and pushing down, and grabbing that needle very slowly but deeply. You can see it's starting to flatten the bottom. I'm going to do that all the way around. Now, if you've made your core a little too dense, you'll have a harder time doing this. You don't want to make your cores too dense. You want to be able to manipulate and shape the wall. But at the same time, you don't want to make them too soft that they won't hold their shape. So, as you can see, now that's flat enough that it can sit. So now we're going to work on just narrowing the top. So we're just going to squish the top in a little bit. I'm going to just work in a grad tapering the top here. So, poking between my fingers and shaping. There. So you can see how we've changed the shape of that, more kind of triangular than rounded. And at the top, if you've got some loose bits, pull them up because then you make attaching the head a little easier. This is where our neck will be. So now I'm just going to take my 40 gauge needle, which is your finer needle, and I'm just going to smooth the surface. Now have a look at yours, and I'm going to leave my belly of the owl sort of rough, because I think kind of, I guess, saying a feathered look, but the rest of it, I'm just going to go around with my needle and just clean it up. Going along and poking kind of on the surface, and I'm trying to smooth the surface. I go kind of parallel to the fibers, and it catches all those loose fibers on the edge. So as you can see, I'm kind of going sideways as opposed to in. That way too, you're not affecting the shape of your core too much. Okay, just going around, and you've got bumpy little bits, and I'm just smoothing those out, rounding it out. This wool that we're covering this owl with is actually very forgiving, and it looks nice anyway. Some wool you'll find very tedious to clean up. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to leave this video right here, and we're going to go on to making the head in the next